Hi everyone, Lisa Haven here. The mainstream media wants you to know that we are saving lives here in the United States of America by closing down our schools, locking down our businesses, and wearing masks on our faces. However, they fail to tell you the repercussions of such events like, well, massive food shortages, massive death as a result to economic chaos, and massive social decline among people. Yeah, they want to tell you that everything's going A-okay and we are saving lives. But the truth of the matter is, we are taking more lives as a result to the lockdown and these mandates than we are saving from the coronavirus. And here's what I'm talking about. If everything was A-okay, like the mainstream media wants us to believe, and we are saving lives, then why is the United States government buying up mass amounts of food? Take a look at this article by Michael Schneider on the economiccollapseblog.com titled 100,000 pasta boxes and enough peanut butter to make nearly 3 million sandwiches. If everything is going to be just fine, why are officials spending millions of dollars to stockpile giant mountains of food? What has just been revealed about the new food warehouse in Washington state could be a major red flag for us all. Most Americans seem to believe that the COVID-19 pandemic, the enormous economic problems that have erupted, and the nightmare civil unrest that has been raging in our major cities are all just temporary phenomenons, and that life will eventually get back to normal. Meanwhile, authorities in Washington state are acting as if what we have experienced so far is just the beginning. And the fact of the matter is, it is just the beginning. And here's what Michael Schneider referenced in his report, the SeattleTimes.com, and this was published August 8th, and it's titled, "From Peanut Butter to Applesauce, Washington State Stockpiles Tons of Food for the Need Ahead." It goes on, in Washington State's new food warehouse, there is enough Jiffy peanut butter to make nearly 3 million sandwiches. There's enough Barilla pasta stretching to the ceiling, 100,000 in all. Large stacks of treetop applesauce, pancake mix, and canned green beans sit on pallets like soldiers waiting to be sent to duty. Since the coronavirus first rocked Washington in March, nonprofit and state agencies working in food assistance have been forced to draw a completely new roadmap for getting food to people in need. The warehouse in Fife is part of the new model. After seeing food banks struggle to meet demand once the pandemic hit and the economy tanked, the Washington State Department of Agriculture began preparing to buy and stockpile tons of food to ward off a shortage in the months, with an S, ahead. In other words, they are planning for months. But the article goes on to expand in one little area, and I'm going to summarize, but basically it details that about 30% of Washington, 30% of the population is facing a food problem. And you know what? It's not just in Washington, it's all across the United States of America. Again, the cure for the coronavirus does not pay out. The cure for the coronavirus, aka the lockdown and the mask mandates, is making our economy far worse. I don't know about you, but I know many people are not going out to places that they normally go because you're subjugated to mask. Therefore, breaking our economy far worse. And death always comes with economic chaos. 7 million people died from the Great Depression because of heart attacks and strokes and things that went up as a result of a stressed society. And now we have up to 30% of people needing food for their family. This is insane. And they're not talking about it ending anytime soon. They're preparing and packing. And as you saw, that was a very recent article, right? They're preparing for the future, months and months and months of this. What does that tell me? That tells me they don't plan on stopping. They are going to continue this regardless of the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic has a 99.6 survival rate, according to the CDC, and they're going to continue this? For what? Our hospitals were more full in 2018. COVID-19. They want us starved, they want us malnourished, and they want our businesses broken so they can subjugate us to communism. But here's what else is happening in Texas right now. Take a look. This is on cbsocial.com. If it wasn't for this, we'd probably go hungry. Car lines stretch more than a mile at Fair Park food giveaway. Here's another, dailymail.co.uk. Thousands of cars for mile-long line at Dallas Food Bank as families drive across Texas for a box of noodles, spaghetti sauce, peanut butter, rice, and trail mix as unemployment cripples the state. This isn't the first time we've had mile-long lines. We've had mile-long lines for food all over the United States, and it is getting worse, and the lines are getting longer. In fact, we've got more shortages on top of shortages we've already had. Right, here we go. The Wall Street Journal, July 12th. From flour to canned soup, coronavirus surge pressures food supply. Food makers work to meet rising demand after initial lockdowns through inventories. Dailymail.co.uk on August 12th. Out of Fizz, Dr. Pepper suffers soda shortage amid pandemic as demand decreases, and other brewers warn of aluminum can supply shortages. TheCanmaker.com, July 14th, U.S. beverage can shortage worsened by the coronavirus lockdown. There is absolutely an agenda here. We didn't need all these massive shortages, right? Look, did you know that they can classify something a pandemic without even one life lost? The World Health Organization, CDC, they can do that. They've told themselves they can. And here we are. COVID-19 pandemic. More people die from cancer. More people die from car accidents than what we're seeing as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Not to mention, they're assuming and they're presuming, right? Look those up on restrictedrepublic.com. They can assume and presume you have COVID virus, and the numbers massively increase as a result. I can't tell you how many emails I have gotten of people who have lost loved ones that have been labeled COVID and weren't. And right now, we are turning into socialist country. We are becoming Venezuela. We are becoming China. What's happening in China right now? Well, take a look. TheEpochTimes.com. Beijing cracks down on extreme eating videos as the country faces a food shortage. And in little letters written on that article, it says local governments also issue new rules to restrict the amount of food people can order at restaurants. Here's an example in Wuhan, ground zero of the coronavirus pandemic, ruled on August 11th that people could order N-1 meals at a restaurant, meaning if 10 people were seated, they would only be allowed 9 meals. If the party is 2 or 3 people, restaurants should encourage customers to order half-size meals, according to the rule. Did you know that if you live in China and you're a farmer there, that you have to sell all your grains to the communist government? Yeah, and then the government takes those grains and sells them to the food manufacturing plants, right? And then the government tells them, you can only have this much or this much or this much food. See, that's what communism does. That's what communism is. Do you think something like that would fly in the United States of America? If our government said we need to take control of products, or maybe they don't even take control of the food, maybe they tell a restaurant you're only allowed to sell this much to such a person. Or if they told the grocery stores you can only have this much in your cart, right? What if they started doing that? And they did it in the name of safety and security, right? What if they suddenly said, well, we're trying to end off food crisis in America, or we're trying to save people from gaining weight because the bigger you are, the more at risk you are for COVID, or whatever reason they give, because obesity, massive obesity, has attributed to some of the coronavirus deaths. It's one of the tickers, if you will, and they say, we're saving your life. This is for the safety and security of the world. We need to regulate how much food there is in order that we can spread the food around. Because some people aren't getting food and some people are, so we, the government, take control of the food supply. Would that fly in the United States of America? Would it fly, especially if people were waiting in massive long food lines? Would it fly if people didn't have food to feed their families? Could we suddenly convince the American people that the government has to be in charge of all the food? Well, The American people sure went along with the mask mandates. The American people sure went along with the lockdowns. I am at the point where I think they would do anything in the name of saving lives, and you will never get your food back. Goodbye, freedom. Goodbye, freedom in the name of safety and security. They can sell you anything. I'm convinced that many people would go for it here in the United States of America. This is why this information is so critical to get out to everybody you know. And in the end, you need to make sure that you have food for your family as well, and you yourself are prepared. As you know, I use preparewithlisa.com, and I'm just telling you this because this is what I personally do. Yes, they're my partner. I've partnered with them on purpose, but preparewithlisa.com has food that you can have on hand for you and your family if push comes to shove, especially if the government starts regulating such. We have to start preparing for such things here in the United States of America, and I wish I was joking, and I wish that wasn't the case. But I am so fearful that the American people will actually go for it. I know you, the listening audience, won't. And if we can wake up the majority out there, us listening, if we can start waking them up, maybe it won't happen in the United States of America. But we're at a point where literally we're being faced with whether or not the government's going to regulate our food. So anyhow, I love all of you. Make sure you go to preparewithlisa.com. Check out the specials that they have on the site. But they've got entire 2 to 4 week packages, or you can go through preparewithlisa.com and check out some of the other products that they have there. Anyhow, I love all of you. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.